I'm not exactly a conspiracy theorist kind of guy, but I couldn't really fucking leave this one alone. So there's a connection between Nancy Pelosi and Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. So hear me out. On September 21, 2024, there was a cyber breach at UnitedHealthcare. Over 100 million data users were affected, healthcare workers and individuals. On that day, Nancy Pelosi purchased $4 million in a cybersecurity company called Palo, Alto Networks. It is a specialist in cybersecurity. On the day of the announcement of the breach, she made that purchase. That company netted her $11.9 million. This was going to be up for investigation. Now, the person who was going to be investigated by the DOJ and was going to be potentially questioned about this cannot be questioned. Do with that as you will. So after we made the connection between Nancy Pelosi and UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, I got a little curious after seeing this comment. What other members of Congress purchased the stock Palo Alto Networks, which was the cyber firm hired by UnitedHealthcare to look into the cyber attack that they received, which was covered in the video that I made yesterday. That is included here. These members of Congress also purchased that stock, not just Nancy Pelosi, not on the day that she did, but also owned this stock. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Josh Gottomir, William C. Burgess, William R. Keating, Jonathan L. Jackson, John R. Curtis, Greg Stanton, Mark Wayne Mullen, Susie Lee, Peter Welch, Kelly Loeffler. So this is bipartisan. These members of Congress, how do they know? Who's telling them? Who's giving them this information? They're all getting rich on civil servant salaries. And why is Brian Thompson not around to testify to the DOJ on whatever the fuck he was going to testify about? All right, so you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to know that this has nothing to do with insurance. It's because now we know that Luigi and his family weren't even insured by UnitedHealthcare. So after we made the connection between Nancy Pelosi and Brian Thompson in a video that I'm including here, we now know that Brian Thompson and current CEO Andrew Witte were being sued for insider trading by the Fireman's Pension Fund in Hollywood, California. We also know that Brian Thompson was being investigated by the SEC. They were also being sued by the DOJ. They were also have a class action lawsuit against them. So their stock trades were being looked at. There's so much more going on here that isn't being talked about in the news. I'm not a journalist. I'm not an investigator. I'm not a stock guy. I'm not a finance guy. I don't know anything about any of this shit. I'm just poking around, just some fucking TikTok guy. So if I'm looking at this and no one else is, why aren't they? This kid is in a frame. He's just some fucking patsy that people are calling Robin Hood. And the media is making this into some kind of rich people are bad. And now that they're getting their MRIs approved because people are afraid. It's bullshit. Media is selling a story about this kid Luigi, and I'm still not buying it. So UnitedHealthcare's former CEO, Stephen Helmsley, was also named in the lawsuit that we talked about previously about the Fireman's Pension Fund. So what the lawsuit was saying is something to the effect that they purchased common stock at inflated prices. So when UnitedHealthcare announced that they were going to purchase Change Healthcare, the DOJ blocked it because of some conflicting software. It said that their competitors, it was going to conflict with the software or some shit like that. But basically, then UnitedHealthcare came in and said that they were going to put up firewalls that would affect that. They didn't end up doing that. But in the 4 months between the announcement of the block from the DOJ, Witte, Helmsley, and Thompson dumped enough stock to net them $102 million. In that 4 months, the Fireman's Pension Fund lost a buttload of money, and the stock dropped to $27 and lost $500 million for investors. This pissed off investors and the pension fund as well. This created a fucking nightmare. So these guys are dirty. This company dates back to 2007, where this guy, William McGuire, who was the former CEO and then had to step down because the SEC was investigating him for backdating, which is this thing where you inflate the price and then you can backdate it and some shit that I don't fucking understand because I'm not a finance guy. But also, Helmsley was guilty of doing that as well. It's a dirty company. They've been bilking investors, doing all kinds of nasty shit. So there is way more to this. And as we said in part 3, this is not about insurance. This is about big business and fraud. And there's more to it. So I think we will get to why Luigi is involved, who this kid is, what are his ties to Pelosi, and insurance that his family had. But somebody else, way bigger than this kid, lost a lot of money and is taking this very seriously.